Hey 10th graders, in this video I'm going to kind of explain a little bit of Julius Caesar to you. So things that you're probably going to want to have on hand is a pencil, something to write with, your Julius Caesar book, some notebook paper, just one sheet probably fine, and your Julius Caesar outline page that I sent in your folder. Okay, I've done made a lot of notes on mine already. Okay. But I'm going to talk about the themes in Julius Caesar a little bit in this video. They're on the back right here, but you might want to make some notes on your notebook paper. And I'm going to refer to some pages and paragraphs in your Julius Caesar book so you can take down the page number, follow along, just being active as I'm talking about it, because I don't know if we'll wait till we're kind of all back together in class again, or if we'll be through this distant learning, but you'll have to do some kind of project or little essay paper on kind of these themes in Julius Caesar when we're done reading it and everything. So you want to make sure you're paying attention and taking good notes as we're trying to read this together a little bit. I'm going to just I'm just going to kind of review Act 1 real quick here in a moment, and then I'm really going to focus on Act 2 and Act 3. If you haven't read through them yet, it's okay. You might want to maybe watch this video a little bit later, maybe skim through it. If you haven't done the worksheet for this week, maybe you want to do that. I'll probably answer some of those questions in this video, but just trying to prepare you as best as possible and try to keep it kind of interesting. All right. Let's see, let's jump into it. Get your outline, and let me review just Act 1 real quick. If you remember at the beginning, the play opens up with Marius and Flavius and the crowds gathering to go see Caesar and everything. I'm kind of just walking through your outline, so definitely follow me with that. Point B, the soothsayer comes and warns Caesar that the Ides March, something bad's going to happen. Okay, March 15th. And that, I'll stop right here and just say real quick, that has the idea of fate, okay? So in a lot of Shakespeare's plays, we see the idea or the theme of fate where something is destined to happen. But is it really destined to happen, or is it kind of like self-fulfilling prophecy where had the soothsayer not even said anything, would it not have happened? We see that, like I said, in a lot of Shakespeare's plays, and we'll see this idea in more places in the play, but here's kind of the first point where it's brought up. Fate or free will. Was it meant to happen, or was there a lot of opportunities that he did not actually have to be killed? Okay. Well, they go away, and we hear about Cassius, and he's talking to Brutus and kind of starting to plant that seed of conspiracy. Okay, and that's a really big theme in this play. Conspiracy is, simple terms, it's a plan to do something, okay? Somebody is conspiring to get something done, and it all starts with just a thought, okay? And Cassius plants the seed. He knows he can't do it on his own, and that's kind of point D. Cassius is actually talking to Casca about how they need Brutus for this plan to work. For it to all come together, because everybody kind of trusts Brutus, and Caesar trusts Brutus, and things like that. We even see the idea of friendship and loyalty there a little bit. But let me stay on this conspiracy thing. He's trying to get Brutus to go along with his plan. There's a lot of persuasion here. There's a lot of manipulation. Okay, Cassius is a very manipulative character. But it all comes back to he's trying to get his plan accomplished. And then we go really into Act 2. Okay, so get your book open. I'm going to read some of the lines here. It kind of starts on page 32, going into 33. And this act opens up with Brutus meditating on the conspiracy and the plan that Cassius has brought to him in the previous act. He thinks about the conspiracy and decides, yes, Caesar does need to be removed from his position. But he has, in his mind, more noble reasons for that happening. If you look on page 33, I'm kind of in the middle of his monologue there, and he says, The abuse of greatness is when it disjoins remorse from power. Remorse down there means compassion or mercy. So removing compassion from power. And to speak truth of Caesar, I have not known was his affection swayed more than his reason. But 'tis a common proof that lowliness is young ambition's ladder, whereto the climber turns his face. Let me keep reading. But when he once attained the utmost round, or top rung, when he kind of got to the top rank, he then unto the ladder turns his back, looks in the cloud, scorning the base degrees, the lower officers, it says, the lower people, by which he did ascend. Okay, so he's saying, he's looking back and he's thinking about Caesar and how he rose to power and became this great new leader. But when he attained that title, he looks back and he says, he's more prideful about it. He is not grateful and thankful for the people that allowed him to get there. And so Brutus concludes, so Caesar may, then lest he may prevent. And if you read down there in the footnote, it said, lest he may, since men of power often become corrupt, Caesar must be prevented from obtaining that power. He thinks Caesar is going to become this tyrant dictator that is going to control Rome instead of do what is in the best interest of Rome. And so again, Brutus thinks, kind of getting into the politics and the patriotism of it, Brutus thinks he is being the best citizen and the best patriot he can be for his country by removing this tyrant, this obstacle that is potentially going to hurt the country that he lives in. Again, this is a very relevant play, and just kind of in this time period, anytime an election, is coming around, you've got people on many different sides of the spectrum that say this person should be in charge or this person should not be in charge for these reasons. And many times we get the idea that everybody's just selfish in their actions and ideas, and I'm not going to get political too much into the current affairs and events that's going on right now, but you do have to think about that. Many times the goals that people have when they're rising to power are selfish, and many times the people that are trying to prevent people from getting into power are selfish as well. But Brutus thinks he's got the most noble ideas here in keeping Caesar from coming into power. I think Cassius just doesn't like Caesar, and so he wants to get rid of him, kind of thing. Okay, let's see. Brutus continues to talk. He talks with his servant Lucius a little bit and some different things. And let me follow your outline again. Look back at your outline. Point B says of Act II, Cassius visits Brutus at his home and introduces the other conspirators. And there's a whole list of names just going through Act II, Scene 1. So you can just flip through that. I'm not going to read all of that, obviously. And then if you go to page 43, we see this guy named Decius, one of the conspirators, and he actually, after they've kind of done their introductions and everything, Decius says, I will volunteer to go get Caesar and bring him to the Senate, bring him to the place that we are going to kill him, okay? He says, I can flatter him, I can encourage him, and I can get him to come. So Decius decides to do that. He decides to, volunteers or whatever, okay? So they leave, all the conspirators leave the house and everything, and Brutus goes back in. And just kind of this interesting part that Brutus interacts with his wife, Portia. It starts on page 44 and kind of goes to the end of this scene. Brutus is talking with his wife, Portia, and she's trying to get him to tell her what's wrong with him. Okay, he's got this mood, and he's feeling bad because he's just real thoughtful about all this that he's about to do. And his wife can obviously tell that he's not in a good mood or whatever. And so she's trying to get him to tell her what's wrong and everything. Well, he doesn't, but she just gets this bad feeling. She tries to convince him not to go to the Senate that evening. I just bring this up because this is the other idea of fate or free will. this is an opportunity. Yes, Brutus has already made a decision. He's going to go kill Caesar. But his wife almost gives him a chance not to, okay? And let me pull out the spiritual aspect of this real quick. The Holy Spirit will always give us opportunities not to sin, okay? God will so many times, even if we made the decision that we're going to go through with whatever crazy idea we've come up with or somebody else has come up with and we're just following along, God will give us many opportunities not to follow through with that, even if we've already made a decision. Many times the Holy Spirit will be pricking us even up to the very moment that we're going to make the bad decision. And we can't get too cold or too selfish and prideful that we can't hear the Holy Spirit anymore. We just have to be ever so careful of that. And right here, Brutus's wife is giving him kind of an out, giving him an opportunity to resist temptation in a sense. But he goes forward with it. The next scene in Act 2, we're still in Act 2, is starting on page 50 and 51. And we see the scene with Caesar and Calpurnia, Caesar and his wife. And here's another situation, fate or free will. Caesar's wife is trying to tell him not to go, okay? Caesar's wife has a bad feeling. And she actually says on page 51, she starts talking and says, Caesar, I never stood on ceremonies or paid attention to omens, these, like a black cat walking across the street, it's like a superstition kind of thing. Caesar, I've never stood on ceremonies, yet now they fright me. Okay, so she's got this idea. She's heard the soothsayer, and she's seeing all these things, and she's having these bad dreams and these feelings, and she says, stay home tonight. Don't go to the Senate. I believe they're going to ask you, and they're going to call you to go and everything. And if you look on the next page, page 52, at the bottom, Calpurnia starts talking again, and she says, alas, my lord, your wisdom is consumed in confidence. Do not go forth today. Call it my fear that keeps you in the house, and not your own. She says, use me as an excuse. Tell them that I didn't want you to go. Just please, stay home tonight, and don't go out to the Senate when they ask you. She's giving him a chance. And not necessarily bad on Caesar. Maybe he should have listened to his wife. He's not necessarily making a bad decision like it's sin, but it's definitely an opportunity to change the future, if you will. Okay, fate or free will. Well, Decius actually convinces him to go. He says, "I came to fetch you to the Senate house." That's what he says on page 53, and it kind of goes back and forth. Calpurnia, Decius, and Caesar, and they're just talking, and he eventually convinces him to go, obviously. That's point F on your outline. Point G on your outline is scene 3 in your book. Okay, this really short scene. Artemidorus, okay, if you can't read anything else, just read this one page, okay, that'd be great. But he has this letter that is cautioning and urging Caesar not to go to the Senate. Again, another opportunity for Caesar to avoid his doom. But he doesn't actually get to give Caesar the letter, unfortunately. Okay, but it is an opportunity. It's still a chance. The next scene is another kind of very short scene. And let me explain what it is and then kind of why it's in the play. It's point H on your outline. Portia, Brutus's wife, is very frantic because she knows something bad is about to happen. And she's talking to Lucius, the servant in Brutus's house, and she's kind of just saying, hey, go check on Brutus, come back and tell me. It's just kind of a back and forth kind of thing. We hear from the soothsayer again in this scene. But it really is there to add some suspense to the whole play, to this particular part of the play, okay? If you can think about, if you're picturing it, if you're watching it, there would be some intense, suspenseful music playing, just kind of adding to the intensity, leading to what we would say is almost maybe the climax of the story, but it's what everything's kind of leading to, Caesar being killed, which is going to happen in the next scene, or in the next act. Spoiler alert. but just kind of a technique of Shakespeare to add some suspense and intensity to this play leading up to the killing of Caesar. And I'm actually going to stop right there with this video, okay? So that is Act II, and a lot of the elements and the themes in that act. So hopefully you're able to kind of pinpoint and pull out certain characters and how they are affecting the play and leading the action and going through with it, and how these different themes correspond to them in the action of the play. I'll make another video to talk about Act III, because that is where Caesar does get killed. And that's not the end of the story, though. That's not the end of the play. Much happens after he gets killed. They're not trying to hide the body or anything. Okay. But much more happens. How does the conspirators wrap up everything after they do kill him? We'll find that out in a little bit. Okay? Read, answer the questions, and let me know if you have any questions.